Government admits flat Earth, document number 2. Propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth. You'll notice that on page 7, it says flat idealized Earth. On page 17, flat Earth. Page 18, flat Earth. Page 28, flat Earth. Page 35, flat Earth.
This is the first time we actually had like an instrument of flight actually go high enough to actually fucking check out if what we agreed to 500 years ago was real. So if they were wrong after 500 years, the question is, what they tell you? What they tell you?
Hey guys.
Then I saw 3 evil spirits that looked like frogs. They came out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. They are spirits of demons performing miraculous signs, and they go out to the kings of the whole world to gather them for the battle on the great day of God Almighty. Behold, I come like a thief. Blessed is he who stays awake and keeps his clothes with him, so that he may not go naked and be shamefully exposed. Then they gathered the kings together to the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon. The 7th angel poured out his bowl into the air, and out of the temple came a loud voice from the throne saying, "It is done."
Dick, can you believe that?
Oh my god.
Oh
What the
my
heck?
That's the weirdest sunset ever.
I've never seen it do that.
It looks like a Lego piece.
It's just sitting in the water. Are you kidding me?
It looks fake.
We can also prove this fact of relative density by filling a balloon with approximately half helium and half air. Since helium is lighter than the oxygen, nitrogen, and other gases that compose the air around us, filling a balloon with just the right amount of helium to compensate for and balance out the density of the plastic results in a gravity-defying, levitating balloon at equilibrium that neither rises nor falls.
Take this ball here, pour a whole bunch of water on it, and watch none of the water fall off the bottom. It all sticks onto it. And while that's happening, and the water stays stuck. Not only that, you're at 1,000 miles an hour spinning this way, which also at 67,000 miles an hour, 67,000 miles an hour, while spinning 1,000, you're circling around the sun. And while that's happening, you're also chasing the sun through the Milky Way at 514,000 miles an hour. And every single night, the stars are exactly the same. Every single night. Every single night, the stars never change. Polaris is always exactly where it is.
Research flat Earth.
So you're in Genesis chapter 1. It says, God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the water. So this is creation. What happened is there was water, and God put a firmament between it. You see that dome? I'm going to explain to you what that is through Scripture. That is the firmament. And everything is within the firmament, not out in the universe. Let me prove that to you. And it said in verse 7, God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. So you see that there's waters which we have under the firmament, sea, land, that's under the firmament. Then there's waters also above. Keep that in mind. Above this firmament. What does firmament mean? Well, firmament, the first word firma, actually just means solid, and ment is just the end of a noun. So it just means
done things. Well, why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat.
Imagine what we know tomorrow.
interesting that for all time, all people thought it was the same thing, and then a bunch of men in little hats said it was something else. And bear in mind, the people that now run NASA bite baby dicks and give them herpes, and the most rich, well-known ones sit on booster seats to look like big boys at big boy tables. Again, I'm not saying the Earth is flat at all. I'm just saying that's something that's interesting. I think the fuck is flat. I don't give a fuck. I don't think it's spinning for shit. I just think that's very interesting. And when you kind of see when you see it just laid out, it's like, yeah, everyone thought it was a dome. Like everybody, including the Bible.
So you're in Genesis chapter 1. It says, God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the water. So this is creation. What happened is there was water, and God put a firmament between it. You see that dome? I'm going to explain to you what that is through Scripture. That is the firmament. And everything is within the firmament, not out in the universe. Let me prove that to you. And it said in verse 7, God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. So you see that there's waters which we have under the firmament, sea, land, that's under the firmament. Then there's waters also above. Keep that in mind. Above this firmament. What does firmament mean? Well, firmament, the first word firma, actually just means solid, and ment is just the end of a noun. So it just means
just our common sense everyday perception of the Earth. It is flat as far as we can tell. It is motionless as far as we can tell. And everything in the sky is revolving around us as far as we can tell. If nobody told us otherwise, we'd logically assume that the Earth was flat, motionless, with everything in the sky revolving around us. Now you can prove that this is the case as well. For instance, with the horizon, as you rise up, no matter how high you go on the top of Mount Everest, or if you go in a balloon higher and higher, we've gotten independent balloons have gone up with cameras.
Can you tell us if it's round or if it's flat?
It's flat. The world is flat.
The world is flat.
The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat. The world is flat.
The Earth is round or flat?
No. Not allowed to debate this. The Earth was flat.
The Earth is flat.
The world is flat. The world is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
The Earth is still flat.
The Earth is flat. The Earth is flat.
The world is flat.
The Earth is flat.
How do we know the Earth is not flat?
We don't. It's flat. The Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat.
Space is fake. The world is flat. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So how do you have gas pressure without a container? Nothing? Danny Faulkner, PhD astrophysicist, runs an observatory and profits from the lies.
Het is hetzelfde toilet als bij de Russen, maar interessante systemen. Hier achter deze panelen wordt de urine opgevangen en
This is supposed to be this craft here, this thing that went up on this balloon, and it's got all these cameras on it and everything. I don't know if you guys can see my
yeah,
cursor.
I saw it.
Oh yeah, but then this guy is supposedly up there, and the balloon goes up, and then this is the view that he gets from space. It's like, what?
Come on.
But again, this is just in line with the technology at the time, and this is exactly what people would believe. I mean, imagine if we were 50 years ago and we were shown this, we would be like, wow, that must be what space looks like. And so you just kind of move along with the times. And a globe with gas pressure next to a vacuum?
Take a gas in some
volume, V, and over here is going to be vacuum, V equal volume, and we're going to remove the barrier. You know what's going to happen spontaneously, right? The gas is going to fill the available volume once it becomes available. The gas is going to fill the available volume.
To show the impossibility of the consensus scientific belief, we again pull down our divider just an inch, and what do you think will happen? Well, of course, the high-pressure gas will exit the chamber into the adjacent vacuum and be gone forever. There's the Earth, and on it we have gas pressure. But there's no container. It is simply pressing down. No container, no gas pressure. No barrier, no gas pressure. 99% of the world believes in. That is clearly impossible nonsense.
Research flat Earth.
1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat.
Imagine what you know.
So here's a rocket heading up.
It's the dome.
Boom.
Curves.
And curves.
Starts falling down.
Because, like, the dome isn't... The dome's really interesting to me. Because I think it's some kind of plasma or water, because in the Bible it says water's above. It's clearly liquid.
Why would they do this? Why are they trying to hide the fact that we are on an infinite plane or on a flat Earth rather than a ball? Well, if you isolate people into the idea that they're on a blue marble that's in the middle of a universe that is really insignificant and there's thousands or millions and billions of other worlds and possibly other civilizations, that makes most people think that we are insignificant and that we did actually come about as some sort of an accident. Now, when people believe that, their minds are much more malleable into being given the idea that there is no God, there is no creator, and because of that, that also gives the controllers this fertile soil to build other deceptions on.
EMLSB 69. His observer height is only 1 foot. Now that first platform is 6.2 miles away, and platform habitat is 9.4 miles away, with the horizon far in the distance beyond that. Now I'm going to let you just sit there and take this in, because this is the absolute #1 globe killer. We live on a globe of radius 3959 miles. Then Q, every horizon distance measurement cannot be more than 1.23 miles times the square root of the observer height in feet. Not Q, the geometric horizon is far greater than 2.73 miles for 5 foot. Therefore, not P. The Earth is not a globe.
Why can I see a mountain range that's 275 miles that way? You don't have to believe geometry. You don't have to trust geometry works. You have to know geometry works. And according to the geometry that they're giving to us about the thing that we're standing on, that shit don't make any sense. And people have seen this all over the plane of the Earth, where they're seeing things 30 miles away, 40 miles away, 60 miles away, 100 miles away, 275 miles away.
Led to humans evolving from ape-like creatures over millions of years. The reason that they want us to think these nonsensical ideas is because the total opposite is what is actually true. We are of divine origin and have a basis for being here. Unfortunately, Many people are heavily under the influence of the mainstream media, and will forever be suffering from cognitive dissonance. If that isn't the case, then the Tavistock Institute has successfully trained them not to care. Through music, movies and TV shows, the thoughts that you think are your own, are manufactured for you. Your opinions are formed by psychos with an agenda to enslave humanity, and put a stranglehold on the world, as a whole. Pay attention and wake up to the Flat Earth conspiracy today, and watch as their power over you becomes dust in the wind. Watch closely as they try to convince us that aliens are real, and the 500-year plan of the Freemasons.
If you want to say Earth is flat, then, for example, lunar eclipses. If you see the shape of Earth's shadow on the moon, it is always round. And the only thing that makes a perfectly circular shadow
would be something that's perfectly circular.
Perfectly spherical.
Spherical.
What we're looking at here is a perfectly straight surface eclipsing an orange. Oh, look at that. Well, so much for that assertion, Neil.
Anytime they talk about eclipses, they never mention the selenium. The shadows come from top to bottom.
Yeah.
That is another issue.
Several Royal Institutes of Astronomy have documented these selenium accounts, and it's something that's real, and it destroys the heliocentric model because you can clearly see the sun and the moon in the sky at the same time.
In the following footage, the elevation is 96 meters. Let's repeat that and let it sink in. The camera elevation is 96 meters and the distance is 214 kilometers. That gives us 2,514 meters target hidden height. Hang on, what's the elevation of Mount Taranaki? 2,518 meters. Whoops, hang on. So none of Mount Taranaki should be visible from 96 meters. Okay, roll the tape.
God, so all the astronauts are just
actors. Actronauts.
Actronauts. Oh my God, I can't wait to see Chris Hadfield. Can't wait to see Chris Hadfield and tell him that my buddy thinks he's an actor.
I can't wait to see him either and say, nice try, bud. Didn't fool me,
So
though.
Chris Hadfield has never been to space, is what you're telling me?
Never. No one has.
No one the world is so generous in its beauty, and you do your best to take pictures of it. It's just flat gorgeous to see.
It's just flat gorgeous to see.
(1955) Operation Deep Freeze. This is just an expansion of High Jump, where more research bases are added to Antarctica. Fast forward a little more, 1958. NASA is established, followed by the proposal of the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, and the implementation of it in 1961. The treaty basically puts Antarctica off limits to civilians, with the exception of guided tours that are carefully supervised. In 1962, Operation Fishbowl takes place. Now this is where people start thinking that they found the firmament or dome during Operation High Jump or Operation Deep Freeze, because for some reason, they started firing nuclear missiles straight up as if trying to mess with the firmament somehow. And not to mention the name of the project, Fishbowl, easily symbolic for the enclosed nature of our world.
That's why we can't live nowhere but here. At least that's what they tell us. Imagine we live on a flat fucking world. All this time we thought we lived on a round planet, huh? We have no fucking evidence to believe that we're on a round planet, only but people telling us. But we really don't know who we are, where we came from, who the fuck is our purpose here.
I'm not going to go for that. You're not going to tell me that on a round planet, though.
How do you know that? You never been out of space, nigga. Go ahead. What's
To stay fixed in their constellation patterns, night after night, year after year, century after century, never changing their relative position.
Debunk my bubble. It's hard to comprehend. Space is fake AF. Two little bitty O-rings. Space is fake AF. It's not what you think, homeboy. Space is fake AF. It's all just start doing this. Space is fake
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright.
The same phenomenon Eratosthenes measured could be explained by a flat Earth if the sun were only a few thousand miles away and 32 miles across. The math would work out the same.
Once you realize what's going on, you're on a flat plane, you can see the sun. It's like it moves towards you, passes overhead, and moves away from you. It's perspective, the distance, it moves that direction until it reaches the vanishing point, the point of convergence on the horizon, where you can no longer see its light.
This is a really, really good video to watch. It's called The Amazing Flight of a Balloon to the Edge of Space. And if you watch it, you will see, because those are clouds there. This isn't the ocean. This is clouds. And what have we got here? That's a hot spot from the sun. Now, if the sun's 93 million miles away, yeah, but massive.
That's right. You think the boat disappeared? Just whip out your telescope, your binoculars, or your zoom camera. You bring the entire boat back into view, completely debunking everything Coy just told you. And here's my video proof.
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof.
Imagine that. You can debunk the curvature of the Earth yourself with just a simple zoom on your camera. Bye-bye, little boat.
The flat Earth? Well, that didn't stand up to tests. The round Earth, this all depends on our fundamental understanding of the size of the Earth and its shape with extraordinary precision.
What the fuck did you just say?
The way we teach science is you're just some empty vessel and we pour the science into you and then you regurgitate it on an exam.
And that light, that's 100 trillion light years away? How the fuck did you figure that out? And you learn...
Well, don't they have an explanation for that shit?
No, exactly. That's what what you just said right now. What you just said now is what everyone's natural reaction. Because anytime someone says anything about space, you automatically think someone figured it out. You don't know the guy's name. You don't know the name of the experiment. You didn't look into it yourself. You just think when someone tells you, how far is the Earth from the sun? They'll say, 93 million miles away. Like you just, everybody relies on someone figured that out and someone double checked it. You're going on what you read right now.
If the Earth is 25,000 miles in circumference, there must exist a curvature drop of 8 inches times the mile when you square the mile. 1 mile means there should be an 8-inch curvature drop. 2 miles, 2 times 2 times 8 is 32. That's 32-inch drop. 3 miles would be a 72-inch drop. And this would exponentially continue. Here's the longest bridge in the world, the Danyang Kongchon Grand Bridge in China, 102.4 miles long. There should exist nearly 7,000 feet of curvature drop in that bridge. 7,000 foot curvature drop. Do you see it? It ain't there. Look at the horizon. It's flat.
Now, cosmology, they don't know what the fuck to do. You know what they found out? The cosmic microwave background shows that all the galaxies are on shelves lined up to us. That we're at the fucking center. They don't know what to think about. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy going on about it.
You should see the stars do all sorts of strange motions, but you don't. You only see them make these perfect circles. That tells me that it's the stars that are moving, not the Earth.
The Copernicus principle, the one that we live by, is that we're insignificant, we mean nothing, we're a speck in the universe. That's the heliocentric model, that we go around the sun. The geocentric model means that everything goes around us. That's what this is in the Bible. That's what the first astronomers were saying. Ptolemy was the first one to say, yeah, we are the center. You can tell based on these observations.
I can see it. Oh, well, that's because Polaris is really, really, really freaking big. Polaris is 46 times the size of the sun, and the sun is over 1 million times the size of the Earth. Every explanation has to be reverse engineered because they started with an ultimate goal of placing the sun at the center. Every other fact that they create is reverse engineered to make this work. It's just like George Orwell said in his book 1984. The stars can be near or distant according as we need them. Do you think it's beyond our mathematicians to create a dual system of astronomy? This is exactly what happened in reality. All these men that we learned about who created the heliocentric model, they had to work collectively over the span of 2,000 years to reverse engineer this model. This model comes from man. This model is built on perfected mathematics that has no relation to reality, no relation to the truth. It's simply a reverse engineered masterpiece.
But this is a NASA technical manual. MIT, the Army Research Laboratory, flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Flat Earth with a flat Earth assumption. Non-rotating flat Earth. A flat, non-rotating Earth may be assumed. A flat and non-rotating, assuming a flat Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth. A non-rotating Earth. Flat, non-rotating Earth. Validity of flat Earth based on a flat Earth assumption for a flat Earth and a flat atmosphere. Flat, non-rotating Earth. The flat Earth model. Propagation of electromagnetic fields over flat Earth. Ballistic vehicle motion. A closed-form solution is developed for the motion of a ballistic vehicle entering the atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth. The assumption of these equations assume a flat Earth.
The survey sheds light on crisis rocking research. More than 70% of researchers have tried and failed to reproduce another scientist's experiments. Half have failed to reproduce their own experiments. 40% of scientists admit fraud always or often contributes to irreproducible research.
In fact, the data shows that the crisis of fraud in scientific circles is even worse than scientists will admit. A study published in 2012 found that fraud or suspected fraud was responsible for 43% of scientific paper retractions, by far the single leading cause of retraction. The study demonstrated a 1,000% increase in reported scientific fraud since 1975. Together with duplicate publication and plagiarism, misconduct of one form or another accounted for 2/3 of all retractions. So much for scientists as disinterested truth-tellers. Indeed, instances of scientific fraud are cropping.
Just our common sense, everyday perception of the Earth. It is flat, as far as we can tell. It is motionless, as far as we can tell. And everything in the sky is revolving around us, as far as we can tell. If nobody told us otherwise, we'd logically assume that the Earth was flat, motionless, with everything in the sky revolving around us. And you can prove that this is the case as well, for instance, with the horizon. As you rise up, no matter how high you go on the top of Mount Everest, or if you go in a balloon higher and higher, we've got...
In the age of social media censorship, questioning whether or not the Earth is a globe has been deemed harmful thought. But why is this? We seem to be conditioned to think that the issue has been scientifically settled. But this is not the case. Our most popular scientists recognize that the geocentric model, where the Earth is at the center of the universe, is observably accurate. Edwin Hubble and Stephen Hawking went as far as to say that they reject the geocentric model not based on scientific reasoning, but rather because they find the thought of being at the center of the universe to be emotionally disturbing. Physicist George Ellis stated that you cannot disprove the geocentric model. You can only exclude it on philosophical grounds.
Stars were missing from the black lunar sky. He saw the American flag waving, even though there is no air on the moon. And he discovered that there was no blast crater beneath the lunar lander. Satellite photos of Area 51 reveal not only a series of hangars that resemble movie sound stages, but also barren moon-like areas which coincidentally are covered with craters.
It's absolutely unreal.
Percy notes that when the speed of the film is doubled, the astronauts appear to be running as if in Earth's gravity. A crosshair is behind a part of the lunar rover.
This situation is impossible and has to be the result of technical manipulation and doctoring of the image.
And in this photo from Apollo 11, the equipment in the foreground is covering the crosshair, not behind it.
Humans, for the most part, don't have a clue. They don't want one or need one either. They're happy. They think they have a good bead on things.
Well, why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
The person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat.
Everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. Everybody knew the Earth was flat.
Further back than any of us can realize, we are told we live on a globe, a spinning, orbiting, corkscrewing water pair hurtling through space at more than 1 million miles an hour. Did you know that's just a story? Let's address the facts. Water always finds and maintains its level. 70% of the Earth is water. So where exactly does this curve begin? The world's lighthouses, railroads, bridges, they all fail the curvature test. Why can we see much further than the globe curvature math dictates? Did you know that every experiment to prove the Earth is moving has failed? Every! Did you know that gravity is just a theory that's never been proven? When was the last time you observed water conforming to the outside of its container or sticking to a spinning ball? Pictures from space? NASA intentionally distorts reality using fisheye lenses and openly admit their pictures of the Earth are CGI composites. And all amateur high-altitude balloon footage reveals no curve. If the Earth is spinning, orbiting, soaring through space, how come the constellations have not changed in thousands of years? Did you know that airplanes climb to their cruising altitude, level off, and then descend to their destination and do not adjust for the Earth's alleged curvature or motion? Compasses and gyroscopes don't even work on a globe. You've been duped.
I want to explain something to you really quick, just in case you didn't understand it, because it's really simple. Now, here as you can see the flat Earth map, you guys are familiar with this. Now you know the summer solstice, the sun is making its small circuit around the north, and it works its way back out into the fall, back out to the winter solstice, which is on its longer circuit. Okay?
The horizon, which derived from the word horizontal, always rises to the eye level and remains perfectly flat at 360 degrees around the observer. On a globe, the converging point of the horizon on the ball Earth would drop as the observer rose higher and higher. Yet, this is never the case. High-altitude balloon footage shows Earth with zero curvature up to 120,000 feet. NASA and the cabal of Freemasonic sun worshippers say that one starts seeing Earth's curve at about 30,000 feet, yet these balloons go 4 times higher and spot no curve. Someone's lying, and it's probably the space agency with the deceptive snake tongue as their logo.
Why would somebody cover this up? Well, because the forces of evil cannot rule the original creation, the one created by God. They have to create an artificial one, a perception, in order to remove the true God from the equation, lifting themselves up to be gods. And they do this by creating a false reality, making people unknowingly exist in it, thus controlling them, making it possible for everyone, including the 99.9% of people working at NASA, to unknowingly propagate the lie. And that perception is so powerful, it can make someone who is provably standing still tell you that they're spinning 1,000 miles an hour. And someone who is standing right side up tell you that they're actually upside down. Now, I know you have more questions, and we have the answers. And even though your heart may feel like you're hearing truth, I'm sure there are many objections that have arisen in your mind. Remember, we used to be you. We have already had to deal with those objections. Just don't let the projection of someone else's
Sometimes I find the people that reject the flat earth model don't even know what they're rejecting. Most don't even understand the flat earth model. They assume something like this. Still part of the heliocentric model of spherical planets, just replace the Earth with a cracker. That's ridiculous, and not at all what any flat earther knows. Instead, this is what our ancestors knew. And according to a Masonic Bible, Egyptians thought the shape of the world was an oblong square.
No one is 100% certain about what the flat Earth looks like, but the azimuthal equidistant projection map that is used by the USGS is the flat Earth map. The United Nations, oddly enough, uses the flat Earth map as its logo and divides it into 33 Masonic sections. The Gleason's map is also used as a representation of the flat Earth. On the flat Earth map, North is in the center, while South, or Antarctica, is surrounding Earth with the continents and oceans inside. Mercator's map from 1569 is also a flat Earth map showing a magnetic mountain in the north with 4 continents surrounding it. The ancients had their own depictions of a flat Earth.
The azimuthal equidistant projection map, produced by the U.S. Geological Survey, has been used for centuries for the fact that all directions or azimuths are correct and all distances are at true scale. Studying this map, one can clearly see how man has been able to accurately circumnavigate the Earth model. And if it is in fact accurate, then it explains why after 60,000 miles, nobody has been able to completely circumnavigate Antarctica. Interestingly, this is also the map used by the United Nations.
I'm shocked. I'm amazed. I am spellbound right now. This is... You don't understand, I've been coming out for like the last 3 months. Oh my God, you can see everything. It's flat. It's flat. This lighthouse is 13.8 miles away. It's supposed to be hidden by 77 feet of Earth's curvature. This is according to the official globe calculations. This ain't me.
So yes, I believe in a flat Earth. No, this is not a joke, but I think a lot of you have a misconception of what the flat Earth actually is. For example, we don't believe we're on a flying pancake in the middle of the solar system where all the other planets are round and the Earth is flat. No, we believe Earth is the pool table, and just because the pool balls are round doesn't mean the table has to be round. We believe that Earth is all there is, stationary, with a dome above it, and the sun, moon, and stars are smaller, closer, and they're placed within that dome, and they do circles above our head. And this is what all ancient cultures of the world believed, and they were still able to predict celestial phenomena for thousands of years prior to being told they were on a spinning ball, because they couldn't experience it with their senses. They had to be told. Now, condemnation prior to investigation is either ignorance or it's indoctrination. So are you big enough to consider something without necessarily accepting it? And can you do that without being triggered?
The astrolabe is a computer, a calculator, a perfect measuring mechanism based on a geocentric, stationary model of the Earth. This piece of artistic and scientific brilliance needs no accolade, nor pomp or circumstance to announce its own craftsmanship, for its modern-day workability itself proves the genius of its design. A very profound question we must ask ourselves is, if the Sun is traveling at roughly 500,000 miles an hour, and the Earth rotates around it at roughly 66,000 miles an hour, how is it even possible to map and track the same set of stars for thousands of years? If we are to assume that the ancients created this calculator with a complete lack of understanding the true heliocentricity of our solar system, and merely created this calculator of the heavens as understood from their perspective and viewpoint, how is it possible they could have crafted such an instrument that maintains such precision over thousands of years? To somehow think that an instrument of such a high and accurate degree of calculability
Of something called the Apollo missions reach you there in China?
Maybe that happened. Maybe not. And we've also heard of the green screen. But you ask
real paper. How'd they get this photo? How'd this photo get back to Earth?
But as the sun sets behind Canigou, we see them in all their glory. From 1,000 feet, we see Canigou at 175 miles away. The math says that the horizon will block anything less than 12,380 feet. Uh-oh. Canigou is only 9,000 feet. And look how much we can see. But Globers, they're the excuse makers, so they'll ask, why don't we see the bottom of Canigou? Why can't we see the beach in front of it? And it's a simple answer. It's too far. It's 175 miles away, and the base of that mountain is at such a reduced angle that we no longer see it. Plus, we can talk about compression. I'll talk about that shortly. So the answers make so much sense, why we can't see the beach, but the question remains for Globers, why can we see the mountains at all? That's where the wizardry enters. Mirage, superlooming, non-standard refraction, whatever it takes to allow them to continue on with their belief systems. Don't you dare question it.
Right now, we only can fly in Earth orbit. That's the farthest that we can go.
The kinds of technologies that we're testing out on Space Station are definitely helping us with our goals of going beyond low Earth orbit.
Early in the next decade, a set of crewed flights will test and prove the systems required for exploration beyond low Earth orbit.
And this is really the beginning, I think, of human beings leaving low Earth orbit.
I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
I haven't seen anything that indicates the telemetry data is even in existence, and as I said, even if we had it, we don't have the machines to play it back.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't really give you much of a clue as to where this data ended up and whether it still exists or not.
Right. Tell us who Wernher von Braun is. Yeah, so he's known as the father of rocketry. He's the most well-known scientist that we got after World War II as part of Operation Paperclip, and we took some of Germany's top scientists and brought them over here and put them to work. He's official for creating NASA.
Right, he is one of the founding fathers. It turns out that he became religious in the late 50s and throughout the 60s. Prior to that, the guy was known as a merry heathen.
Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God. Now, that's pretty good, but that's only one half of the psalm. The other half is the one that just kind of blows my mind. And the firmament showeth his handiwork. Now, somebody that was part of NASA, that founded NASA, that was part of the space program, the moon landing, all this stuff, put this particular passage as what I've been raised for and raised at, to see a gravestone as the last parting message from the deceased, has to do with something that's connected to the flat earth theory.
And water to curve around it. It's a fundamental pillar to their religion. If the globe they presuppose has a radius of 3959 miles, then the horizon distance is set by the height of the observer. So what makes this image so devastating is the height of the observer at only 1 foot. The horizon should be 1.22 miles. But even if we set it at 5 feet, the horizon should be 2.73 miles. But we can see the bottom of platform habitat where it meets the water 9.41 miles away, and the horizon above that beyond in the distance, making it fundamentally impossible to see this from 1 foot on a globe. The globe does not exist.
Now I'm going to show you the Encyclopedia Britannicas in the public libraries before 1958. Here's volume 2 out of the alphabet A. And we're going to flip to the Antarctica. When they returned to New Zealand, these flights proved the inland areas to be featureless in character, with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Because why do all the maps before 1958 show a flat earth with the ice wall around it and a firmament, a dome? And why does the encyclopedia tell you that there's a dome there and it gives you the exact height at a certain latitude and longitude? Well, the reason is because in 1958, that's when all governments and all nations of the world signed the UN treaty to ban all civilians from going to the Antarctica. And NASA came in and erased everything, just like they're erasing everything today.
On the flat Earth model, the sun circles over the Earth in a clockwise manner and fades off into the vanishing point of perspective, or the horizon. The sun does not actually sink to the ground, but rather it gets further and further away until the observer can no longer see it. The sun is not 93 million miles away, as modern astronomers claim, but it is obviously closer and smaller. The sun only gives light to about half of the plane, while the other half is night. Although there has been much debate about this in the community, I think we can all agree that it is the sun circling above us, not the other way around.
We're spinning around the sun, and then the sun and us are spinning around the Milky Way galaxy, they say, at 500,000 miles per hour. And then the entire Milky Way galaxy, they say, is shooting off from the Big Bang at 670 million miles per hour, almost the speed of light. So there's at least 4 rip-raging, contradictory motions supposedly going at all times, yet you don't experience any of it, nor can you measure any of it using the stars. The flat motionless Earth is, not only is it the greatest conspiracy of all, it's also the easiest to prove. I mean, it just is flat and motionless, just as it appears. Look into it more and more, make it a thing to try and debunk it, if you will. You know, even if you want to do it that way. Negative reinforcement works too. Try as you will, you're only going to find proofs for the flat motionless Earth. You're not going to confirm that you're on a spinning ball.
And you can see bubbles rising out of the pool, proving that they're in a pool in many of their spacewalks. So the outside space shots are done in the pool. The inside, most of the inside shots are done in zero-G planes, and then some of the longer inside shots are done with a green screen and harnesses, so they just kind of float on a harness in front of a green screen. And with these 3 methods, they're able to produce the zero-G effect that everybody thinks is them floating around in space. But in reality, anything that goes up comes right back down. There is no point where you can just go up, 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 and then, oh, I'm floating now, and I get to float through infinite space now forever. That's the illusion. That doesn't happen. You will always come back to the Earth. You'll always fall right back down.
No matter how high you go up?
As high as any non-NASA source has gone.
Not the best? Let's say another one to print. I think that's awfully good. That one and the one before it was pretty good.
Do we have about 15 seconds?
Oh yeah, you got a lot of time.
Yeah. I claim this land in the name of...
What do you got now? Now move.
Ready, and action.
Got it, Jim? Very good.
Quit that. Print 4.
Orbiting about a half an inch above the surface. Felix Baumgartner, he would have been about 2 millimeters above the surface of this globe. That's his edge of space jump. The honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. So in the photo, you see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he said, wow, he's in space, look at that. No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't. That stuff is flat.
Research flat.
Geographic explains why no such reflectors are needed to bounce signals off the moon. This is detailed in The Laser's Bright Magic by Thomas Malloy. On page 876, he states, 4 years ago, a ruby laser, considerably smaller than those now available, shot a series of pulses at the moon, 240,000 miles away. The beams illuminated a spot less than 2 miles in diameter and were reflected back to Earth with enough strength to be measured by ultra-sensitive electronic equipment. It should also be noted that many types of signals can be bounced off the moon, even without such reflectors. In the 1950s, moon bounce was used to communicate around the curvature of the Earth. That is, if you were in the military and wanted to talk to someone in Hawaii from California, you would bounce your conversation off of the moon.
Here's our flat Earth with our magnetic center. This is the shoreline that we call Antarctica that surrounds our world. And here's my boat. I put my boat down and immediately the compass points north. If I want to circumnavigate, I want to head west or east, but we're going to go west right now. So I'm heading west, and as you see, west keeps turning. So I have to keep going, and this is how, when you go west, you end up going all the way back to where you started from. Same thing for east. I go east. I keep having to turn because my compass keeps making me turn to go east.
Alright, so for those of you that are unaware, this happened last night over Russia. It looks like the exact same thing that just happened over California. And I'm not saying that this is a UFO, because I don't believe that. I believe this is genuinely a rocket. But I believe this actually shows the rocket hitting the firmament. Check it out right here. It hits and then starts curving this way and then falls. We'll do that again. Alright, it's reaching altitude. Hits the dome and curves and starts falling down. So I just want to put that out there. You know, that's kind of my perspective on it. Over the years, I became a believer in the firmament, and I believe this is pretty much proof that there is something keeping us from reaching. See, hits the firmament and falls.
Pan tam był. Czy Ziemia rzeczywiście jest kulą zawieszoną w kosmosie?
Jest płaska. Tak jak oczekują i nie spodziewałem się co prawda tego pytania, ale zapewniam pana, że jest płaska.
Generał Mirosław Hermaszewski, jak dotąd pierwszy i ostatni Polak, który odbył lot orbitalny. Dziękuję serdecznie za rozmowę.
Dzięki. Dziękuję, kłaniam się.
Thing to remember here, if you're making still water, it's always flat, always level. So every little line that you put in it must be basically flat. You can go anywhere you want to go with it, but you have to keep them straight. In still water, it's always flat, always level. The one thing to remember...
I want to see a helicopter like this lifting off from in Australia upside down while the Earth is spinning. I want to see the Earth spinning 1,000 miles an hour while a helicopter takes off and flies around like you tell us it does. It just seems very fucking absolutely ridiculous to me, and you'd have to be really brainwashed to believe something like that, you know? Like, the Earth is spinning 1,000... How the hell does a plane land on an Earth spinning 1,000 miles an hour? How's that fucking possible? They're telling us, oh yeah, when the plane lifts up, automatically it's going 1,000 miles an hour with the atmosphere. No, it doesn't work like that. It's all fucking bullshit. It's all bullshit, NASA. Look at this shit. Why don't we have a picture from your frickin' International Space Station of a helicopter lifting off upside down in Australia with our Earth spinning? You know, we don't. We don't have anything. All we have is pictures from you from a swimming pool and done in a Hollywood studio.
One thing that gives away the International Space Station hoax is the women. Now, women on zero-G planes with long hair, their hair flows naturally in the air. Women on the International Space Station, because this is all fraud, no matter what she does, no matter how she bounces around, you would expect her hair to flow in the air, and it does not happen. Their hair will never look like that, because it's permed.
The world is so generous in its beauty, and you do your best to take pictures of it. It's just flat and gorgeous to see.
It's just flat and gorgeous to see.
Okay, I got a question. Which version of Earth is real? Is it the one that NASA and the United States say is real? Is it the one that the USA or Europe say is real? JAXA, maybe it's JAXA, Japan. Or my all-time favorite, Roscosmos in Russia with the gold land. Guess there's a lot of gold there. Which version is real? I'd like to hear your thoughts.
All the ancient cultures from the beginning of time have depicted a flat, kind of enclosed Earth. So we have this flat Earth cosmology all the way up into the 1900s when a big push was made to live on this round spinning ball flying around the sun. They are basically placing us on a speck of dust flying through infinite space where it was made from this accidental Big Bang. And we really don't mean very much, and everything is kind of an accident, and it kind of leads you into this mentality where things are meaningless. It doesn't matter what you do in life, but the more you research, the more you'll find that you can't prove the spinning ball Earth unless you're suffering from cognitive dissonance and you've been programmed your entire life. All scientific experiments show that we're being lied to about what mainstream science is saying about the Earth.
These are the 5 United Nations government agencies that control our world. They control how far out into the ocean we can go, and they control the territorial regions that we are allowed to fly in. This is the Gleason's 1892 World Map, better known as the Flat Earth Map. Patent November the 15th, 1892. United Nations government agency, which pretty much controls just about everything. They control all militaries of the world. They control which militaries join which wars in the world. They formulate and enforce all treaties brought upon the world. But if you look in their flag, they have the Flat Earth Map as their logo. And in their General Assembly Hall, where all treaties of the world are signed, they have a flag.
Used as an official map by the U.S. Geological Survey and also as the official logo for the United Nations. Is this our real home being hidden from us in plain sight? I think it is. The first thing a lot of people say is, where's the edge? Well, look at this map where Antarctica is a 360-degree ice barrier that holds the water in. These ice walls are real, and they stand 150 feet above the surface of the water. Then you need to understand that there is no independent access to Antarctica. Average people can only go there on a guided tour. It has no towns, no cities, and no permanent residences. What's past the 150-foot ice wall is anyone's guess. How far the ice extends, how it terminates, and what exists beyond it. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959 by 12 nations and more later on, states that Antarctica is for peaceful purposes only, no military activities, just scientific research and government exploration. Expeditions by any party must be discussed in advance. It's the longest and most successful treaty between nations. The treaty also states that there are ships, stations, and equipment to ensure compliance of the treaty. Sounds like military activity to me. Anyway.
In the flat Earth model, the sun and moon spotlights are perpetually hovering over and parallel to the surface of the Earth. From our vantage point, due to the law of perspective, the day and night luminaries appear to rise up the eastern horizon, curve peaking high overhead, and then sink below the western horizon. They do not escape to the underside of the flat Earth, as one might imagine, but rather rotate concentric clockwise circles around the circumference from tropic to tropic. The appearance of rising, peaking, and setting is due to the common law of perspective, where tall objects appear high overhead when nearby, but at a distance gradually lower towards the vanishing point. Samuel Rowbotham said, "Although the sun is at all times above and parallel to the Earth's surface, he appears to ascend the firmament from morning until noon, and to descend and sink below the horizon at evening. This arises from a simple and everywhere visible law of perspective. A flock of birds, when passing over a flat or marshy country, always appears to descend as it recedes, and if the flock is extensive, the first bird appears lower or nearer to the horizon than the last. The farthest light in a row of lamps appears the lowest, although each one has the same altitude. Bearing these phenomena in mind, it will easily be seen how the sun, although always parallel to the surface of the Earth, must appear to ascend when approaching and descend after leaving the meridian or noonday position. What can be more common than the observation that, standing at one end of a long row of lamp posts, those nearest to us seem to be the highest, and those farthest away the lowest, whilst, as we move along towards the opposite end of the series, those which we approach seem to get higher, and those we are leaving behind appear to gradually become lower. It is an ordinary effect of perspective for an object to appear lower and lower as the observer goes farther and farther away from it. Let anyone try the experiment of looking at a lighthouse, church spire, monument, gas lamp, or other elevated object from a distance of only a few yards, and notice the angle at which it is observed. On going farther away, the angle under which it is seen will diminish, and the object will appear lower and lower as the distance of the observer increases, until, at a certain point, the line of sight to the object and the apparently uprising surface of the Earth upon or over which it stands will converge to the angle which constitutes the vanishing point, or the horizon, beyond which it will be invisible. Heliocentrists would have you believe the very opposite of what every human who has ever walked the Earth has seen with their own eyes. It is obvious to any child and sovereign-minded adult that the sun, moon, stars, and planets, every light in the sky above, revolves around the motionless Earth.
This is the Gleason's 1892 world map, better known as the Flat Earth map. Patent November the 15th, 1892. And as you can see here, this is scientifically and practically correct. Now I want to show you how those 5 United Nations government agencies have this flat Earth map in their logo. And in their General Assembly Hall, where all treaties of the world are signed, they have a flat earth map right on the wall in the conference room. Not only did the United Nations government ban this map, but they banned all maps that were made before 1958. They banned them from public schools and from all libraries.
The world is so generous in its beauty, and you do your best to take pictures of it. It's just flat and gorgeous to see.
It's just flat and gorgeous to see.
Okay, I got a question. Which version of Earth is real? Is it the one that NASA and the United States say is real? Is it the one that the USA or Europe say is real? JAXA, maybe it's JAXA, Japan. Or my all-time favorite, Roscosmos in Russia with the gold land. I guess there's a lot of gold there. Which version is real? I'd like to hear your thoughts.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
I wear my heart on my sleeve. Don't wanna be fake, but I heard I should be ashamed. From the mouth of a snake, deep down, I'd rather feel. Show you something real. But there is power in my weakness. They can try to keep me silent, but I'm a shouting from the mountain. No, I'm not backing down. The devil is a liar. The devil is a liar. My God has set me free. Open my eyes, now I can see.
First thing, remind them about the Big Bang Theory, because theories are absolute facts. Ridicule the use of YouTube for educational purposes, because any idiot knows that they can find more information in textbooks and public libraries than can be found on the internet. Tell them to go back to school, because information is only true when it comes from authority. Show them pictures and videos from outer space. It's obvious that they've never even considered this before, and there's no way that pictures or video could ever be fabricated or manipulated. Never ever do your own research. Instead, ask these flat earthers to explain every inch of detail about the theory to you. If they can't do it, just laugh in their face. And if they can do it, just get upset and say things like science and gravity a lot. When they simply just won't listen to any reason,
That was a little out of tune. Beautiful. Who knew?
The first thing a lot of people say is, where's the edge? Well, look at this map where Antarctica is a 360-degree ice barrier that holds the water in. These ice walls are real, and they stand 150 feet above the surface of the water. Then you need to understand that there is no independent access to Antarctica. Average people can only go there on a guided tour. It has no towns, no cities, and no permanent residences. What's past the 150-foot ice wall is anyone's guess. How far the ice extends, how it terminates, and what exists beyond it. The Antarctic Treaty, signed in 19...
For all those people saying the lunar eclipse debunks the flat earth, you're completely wrong. I'm going to let this video play once again. Just look at all this footage and realize the most important aspect of this is during the sunrise. Can't explain this.
If the darkening area of the moon is believed to be the Earth's shadow, then why isn't the shadow appearing on the other side, or the bottom of the moon?
If the sun were
being blocked by the curvature of the Earth, then the shadow should have been on the lower part of the moon, and the light from the sun, or the lit part of the moon, should have been at the top where the shadow is. It's
until I found this photo from Grandmere State Park. This is from Joshua Nowicki, and what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage of the Chicago skyline. Very interesting here. Here's what's happening. This is a good example of a superior mirage. So Joshua was on the Lake Michigan shore. He was looking towards the west, and Chicago's beyond the horizon. Should not be able to see it. However, with the right conditions, we have an inversion. We have cold air near the cold lake water and some relatively warmer air above it. This will bend the image of that skyline back towards the viewer. And so typically we would not be able to see this. This image would be viewable from much, much higher in the sky, up in space. But instead, we're able to see it on the Lake Michigan shore.
Can you just reassure us, that you really are in the space station?
There would be a lot of wires holding my hair up right now if that was what it takes, but I guarantee we're up in space.
And here is Perm Ladyhead. I mean, look at her. She looks like Medusa. She looks like she has fixated snakes coming out of her head. It's permed like that. Here's another idiot. Her hair is completely fixated. It's a perm. It always springs back into that particular position. It's ludicrous. And look at this idiot. She must be a Freemason or something. Because sometimes that's who they get to do these hoaxes. They're sworn to secrecy, and they're fucking pieces of shit.
God is so clear. Is this a hoax? Are you really in space still?
So let's use this model of the Earth. And let's enlist the help of a friend, Patsy. You might know her.
So what is significant about this video is, number one, it was live to school children. Number two, we have this stuffed animal that is transitioning in on another video channel. And the actor is able to reach up and grab this doll in real 3D space and manipulate this doll with their hands. And so the only way you're going to pull that off is with one technology. And that technology is virtual reality. More importantly, though, something called augmented virtual reality.
Paused it where I was, had to come and record this. So again, guys, here it is. Official NASA launch footage shows a curved Earth. Watch. Curved. What the fuck is it flat? What the fuck? Come on. It's fucking concave all of a sudden. What the? Hold up. This is horse shit. This is official NASA rocket launch footage. It's curved. There's your proof. But like, oh, fuck.
what I did is I went to the, of course, to the Central Intelligence Agency themselves, the CIA. And again, you look up the words firmament, and you look up the words flat earth, and then look into the documents, and then these things come up. All of this information and derived on the assumption of a flat earth. So again, the scientists in 1957 knew that the earth was flat. And they also know that the earth has a firmament over it. And again, this is all declassified information from the Central Intelligence Agency.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see just how evil NASA is. First, we're going to look at Earth's orbital speed around the sun. How fast does Earth move around the sun? 66,600 miles per hour, speed of the globe's orbit. Next, curvature in 1 mile squared. According to Pythagorean theorem, 0.67 feet of drop. 8 inches converted to feet is 0.66667 feet. Curvature in 1 mile squared. Check. Earth's axial tilt, 23.4. But when you take 23.4 and subtract it from 90, a right angle, you get, believe it or not, 66.6. Again, axial tilt confirmed. Now let's take a look at the Antarctic and Arctic circles. Oh, would you look at that? 66.6 degrees north and 66.6 degrees south. Now let's go over the diameter of the moon. This is a new one, I actually didn't know. It's 2,160 miles, but you take 6 times 6 times 6, there you go, 2160. The surface temperature of Uranus, oh, there you go, negative 216, which is 6 times 6 times 6, 216. Oh, you thought we were done. Let's do Pluto's orbital velocity. Scroll down here. Oh, there we go. 666. The speed of sound in knots. Speed of sound. Oh, well, look at that. 666 knots. The Earth's circumference in nautical miles. Oh, 21,600. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Again, 600 times 6 times 6. Another coincidence, 21,600. How far is Mars from the sun? Oh, well, 1.666 astronomical units. Now let's look at Ceres' synodic period. And just as you expected, 666. Again, the devil's in the details, ladies and gentlemen. Saturn's orbital distance in kilometers. Let's take a look at the numbers. Oh, 1,426,666,000.
Last thing anybody wants now is an emergency. But like everything else, they're ready for that too.
Once the crew are on board, if it looks as if they're in danger, they get out and head down this tube, specially insulated against fire, and zigzagging down not to some point out and away from the rocket, but to an escape room exactly where you'd think it shouldn't be.
Three and a half minutes after they get the warning in the capsule, the crew could be down here in the blast escape room via that 200-foot escape tube, 40 feet below the base of the rocket. They find themselves in a totally rubber room, walls and floors, and they head for safety through a 6-inch steel door. Once they're behind that door, it doesn't matter what comes down this tube behind them. on this side of that door, the rarely seen blast escape room itself. It's totally isolated from everything around it by a series of 24 giant springs underneath the floor and shells all round it of steel, concrete, and sand. It contains enough food, water, and air for 20 people for up to 24 hours, and it's all round the edge. There are these foam rubber, shock-absorbing seats, as you can see. The room is built to withstand the simultaneous explosion of every drop of fuel on a Saturn V. And in that event, strapped into your shock-absorbing seat, if your rocket did blow itself to bits 40 feet above your head, all you'd feel would be a mild rumble from somewhere up there.
Skylar, I was medicated. I mean, I could have said the world was flat.
You know what I think? I think you accidentally told the truth.
1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat. And 15 minutes ago, you knew that people were alone on this planet. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow.
It was a surprise.
Big surprise, yeah. It's cold out here.
Yeah, it is. It's like the South Pole.
It's like the deep South Pole, if there was one. There isn't, though.
Thanks for walking me in my door.
Taking an idea I got from a Stephen King book, I'm going to cover this town with a dome!
It's been done!
Really? Did you know about this?
Coming this June.
Wide angle, which curves hard off the line.
Accept science. Well, whatever are you referring to? The science of being able to see the Chicago skyline across Lake Michigan? The science of seeing mountains and islands using infrared technology that should be miles below the horizon? You see, science is a method, an activity. It's not evidence. It's like asking if I accept walking. Science and walking are tools to produce something. Walking produces a change in location. Science produces evidence, and everyone, I mean everyone, has a biased lens through which they view evidence. So why don't I accept science? Perhaps you could ask a question that makes sense. People think that science is unbiased, and they're correct, because how can the act of walking be biased? What they mean when they say science is the mainstream interpretation of the evidence produced by science. And if someone doesn't think the mainstream has an agenda with every piece of information they put out, I can't help that person, and I definitely can't answer that question in a way that they would understand.
Ships do not disappear over the horizon, but rather they disappear into the horizon, with the vanishing point of perspective. The argument of ships going over the curve can be easily debunked by using telescopes, binoculars, and good zoom cameras to bring ships back into view of the observer. No matter how good the zoom is on the camera, ships will never be able to be brought back into view if they went over the curve. This is proof that the ship only appeared to disappear because of vision and perspective, not the curve.
Understand, like, you can prove we didn't go to the moon. It's not that. And when I was proving that we didn't go to the moon, everyone was like, well, soon you're going to say the Earth is flat. So you think the Earth is flat? And that to me triggers that it's a CIA op. Because I'm like, no, I'm saying we didn't go to the moon because I can literally prove it a million ways. You know, it's like, name one other time we've explored, any human being has explored someplace exciting and other countries didn't follow. Name one other time technology went in reverse and got more expensive to produce. Name one other time that the greatest moment in human history was deleted to save tapes by an organization that gets $24 billion a year. The moon rocks have traces of uranium isotopes and brass that only occur, they're man-made from Earth. Neil Armstrong, his body language and his verbal demeanor was distancing himself from all actions when he was on the moon, and they wouldn't let him give another interview for 30 years. The rock he gave Holland was a piece of petrified wood. I don't even have to touch the Van Allen belt. And dude, look at how Bush, Clinton, Obama, they all said we're going back to the moon. Gearing up, bailed. Well, what about private? Elon Musk said he's going to the moon, bailed. Now he's going to Mars. Oh, well, there's nothing on the moon. Of course there is. There's a $1 trillion tourism business to go to the moon. It would be the best place to study Earth. There's no atmosphere. You can study the stars all day long. You can study how gravity affects your... We have bases on Antarctica and the North Pole and Greenland and everywhere, but for some reason, we have none on the moon. And people being like, one day we will get people past low Earth orbit. It's like, we did, right? You forget that Wernher von Braun said that we would require a rocket ship the size of the Empire State Building to go to the moon. No other country has ever gone. None of it makes sense. It's provable. They deleted 1 metric ton of telemetry data, and then people go, well, it's unusable tapes. They claim they reused the tapes. According to the New York Times, NASA said they had to reuse the tapes because they were facing budgetary problems. Well, no, you're in cognitive dissonance. You have just been trapped in cognitive dissonance. If your argument about reusing the tapes just immediately got shot down, and now you're trying to get another one, you're not open to a new argument. Neil Armstrong, and here's the biggest one by far, because people can say, Big Bear, you're not an expert at Van Allen, but that's why I don't even touch those things. I am an expert at mass communication. I minored in it in college. I understand television production. I was on PSTV in Plattsburgh State University. I get it. I understand. Not only am I smart enough to figure out the shit, but just to let you know, I know what it is. The amount of electricity it takes to broadcast a live television broadcast is not remotely possible from any of the specs from the moon. Add on to that, you're flying through space. You're going through 237,000 miles of a vacuum through a radius.
And I studied the whole event over the couple of years that the whole solar cycle built into this alignment. There's no inside structure.
Is it hollow?
Yeah, there's only a surface. There's nothing inside.
Is the sun actually, do we combusting in on
It's
itself?
not burning anything. There's no fusion in the sun. That's well understood. It's energy, actually. You can't, most of it you can't even measure in outer space or see.
You can't see.
No, you can't see the sun in free space.
So the sun is not visible in outer space.
Not in free space. It's only invisible when gross matter becomes involved, like the Earth's atmosphere and envelope and the surface of the moon or whatever. That makes the light. Otherwise, there is no light. You can see the moon, you can see the Earth, but you can't see the sun or you can't see the stars.
But you can see the planets and the satellite.
Right. You can see material objects, but you cannot see the sources of light. There is no light until there's a material object.
To reflect off.
So that means there's no time delay. So the whole time delay thing is meaningless. It doesn't take light years. There are no light years because there's no light. So that means that the light you see from the distant stars isn't 4 million years old. It could be only minutes old. It could be instantaneous. All the theories collapse when you can't see the stars in outer space. It comes from what people like to say another dimension. Counter space.
Sunspots are holes inside.
Holes in the hollow sun. There's a photosphere that generates the light, and it's contiguous. It's not contiguous. It's little things that move around.
Contiguous.
Yeah. It's an arrangement with little glowing spots, and it's dark in between. It's a veil. And that's where the illumination of the sun originates, is in that veil. It doesn't come from the inside. There's no nuclear furnace in the middle. There's none of that shit, and that's understood. When I studied this stuff in Sonoma State, that's understood. But they have to continue this popular image that the sun is a nuclear bomb burning in the sky.
Scarcity.
Because that's everything's got to work on destruction.
Exactly. Burning
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the caloric theory. That's another.
Yeah,
lot of
whatever. It has to
bullshit.
be the laws of thermodynamics. You have to pay. It has to be a meter. If you can't put a meter on it, it's not real.
Do you have any respect for Newton at all? Just
He says the Earth is definitely flat. Here is my guest, Charles Johnson. Let's hear it for Charles. Now, Charles, you can't truly be serious and believe that this Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat is one of the few things that you can ever know for sure in life. It is the only sure thing. You know, they talk about death and taxes being sure, but the Earth being flat is much more sure than that.
But Charles,
I mean, you didn't give the rest of our name. It's the Flat Earth Research Society. We have research. We have
but
learned
Charles,
flat.
we have seen pictures of the round globe.
Are you serious, Wally? I mean, in other words, your proof is. In other words, your proof is I saw it on TV.
No, I've seen it from an airplane. From an airplane. Charles, are you disputing? Charles, are you disputing our astronauts who have seen our beautiful round globe from outer space?
Carnies. Not a word of truth. No one's been to the moon.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you say nobody has been to the moon?
No one has been to the moon.
Wait. Hold on. Are you saying that our trip to the moon was all phony?
Phony. Totally. Completely phony. And the reason, completely phony. And the reason, in all these years that this insane hoax has been taught, it come from Greece 2,500 years ago. It's called the Grease ball religion, claiming the world is a ball. No proof had ever been found for this insane belief.
What proof do you have that the Earth is flat?
Let me get to who started the space program. Nick Khrushchev in Russia. The atheist communist, since they could find no proof, and he wanted to do away. The Bible is a flat earth book. Jesus, the only part of the Bible that's claimed written by God himself is the Ten Commandments. And within those commandments you'll find in Exodus 24, it states the earth is flat. It states you shall not make a graven image and from heaven above or earth beneath or the water underneath the earth. And other
I see it's round.
Oh, you got it from an airplane.
But Charles, are you saying everybody else is wrong and you people are the only ones who are right?
Absolutely. But don't get excited. The average person over 40 or 50 years old knows that the Earth is flat.
But Charles, if the Earth was flat, you'd go driving along, or you'd be in a boat going, and you'd reach the end, and you'd fall off the Earth.
This gravity theory is just an illusion to make you believe that it's possible that the oceans could be curved around a spinning ball like this. It's pseudoscience to remove you from the actual known science for thousands of years. If something is more dense, then it goes lower. If something is less dense, it just moves higher. If you've got helium balloon, how come gravity doesn't bring that down to the Earth? Well, because the helium is lighter than the oxygen and nitrogen and other elements in the air around it, so it naturally rises. And you hold a rock and let it go, and the gravity is what causes the rock to drop, right? No, the rock is denser than the air, so it falls. You've been taught a stupid science that tells you that gravity, this big G, all these Freemasons are telling you, gravity is their God. There really is an up and down in nature. Light things go up, heavy things go down. That's it. Gravity is bullshit science to make you believe you're on a spinning ball.
The fact that the ball is rotating 1,000 miles an hour and it's curved, you have that to get the right numbers. You would have to factor that in, right? Well, all of them say the number one rule is you have to assume that we're on a flat, non-rotating Earth. Word for word, you have to assume that we're on a flat, non-rotating Earth. It has nothing to do with flat Earth documents or
FAA manual says the same thing.
All All of them. The only way you're going to get the right answers, because they're not arguing about, like, if they don't get the right answers, we got this formula, we have to figure out the motion of missiles. That shit has to be right. What are the odds that to get the numbers right when calculating the motion of missiles, what are the odds that you have to assume that we live on this crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy flat Earth that's non-rotating? To get the right numbers, you have to pretend that we live on this tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. The opposite. In order to get the numbers right, you have to calculate the opposite of the reality that they're trying to shove down our throats.
They've actually got the population believing that the entire Earth comes from nothing. Obviously, we're living in an intelligently designed place here. Consciousness had to pre-exist the physical universe for the beautiful, complex, diverse physical universe to even come into existence at all. The beauty of nature, the complexity, the way that just happened as a random explosion. And
the golden mean, the Fibonacci sequence everywhere.
Absolutely. Not only is design intelligent, it's so intelligent that our human mind can't possibly comprehend it. Instead of the new science religion lets you think that you're the pinnacle of evolution, you're a god, and that God doesn't need to exist whatsoever. That's the metaphysical angle that this whole conspiracy is attacking us at, making us think we're not special. And when somebody presents you with the idea that, hey, you're actually the center point of the universe, everything revolves around you, the Earth and us humans, the most intelligent of the intelligent designers' designs, we are special.
Everyone thought Earth was flat. Why? Because it looked flat. And they posed the same arguments you did. If it was round, stuff would fall off on the other side. You can't have people standing upside down on a round Earth. We thought Earth was flat before we had seagoing vessels that went beyond the horizon, recognizing that there has to be a curve there, because the ship doesn't always stay in view. So Columbus, when he set sail, the ship eventually disappeared. This would count as evidence that Earth's surface was curved. This would count as evidence that Earth's surface was curved.
This would count as evidence that Earth's surface was curved.
But what about the water? How come it's not just spilling off? We had to come to a deep understanding of gravity.
What is gravity?
You have no idea. Okay, next question. Earth is big enough so you think it's flat. But if you step away, like the Apollo astronauts did, there is the beautiful globe that is Earth, adrift in space. Plus we have photographs.
Wernher von Braun was a genius Nazi that we got from Operation Paperclip. He's the father of NASA, right? He's also best friends with Walt Disney. And on his tombstone is one biblical passage, just one. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Firmament is a dome.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think.
You can see in that dive shot that the inside camera, the horizon is completely flat. Then it goes to the outside, and you got a huge curve. But when you're looking at some of the amateur balloon footage, some of it's lens corrected, and it's completely flat. And others, like the GoPro stuff, the horizon will fluctuate as the camera spins and tilts. The horizon will go convex and concave, not a lens effect. It's obviously not the horizon shifting every 2 seconds as the camera jumps. And when it's still, you can see all the way up, totally flat.